There it I love that skeleton at the end, man. That's
Yeah,
like, well,
yeah.
that's my favorite part. It's so
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm glad that I found that. Eventually, maybe I want to like take different clips from our old show, our
Yep,
other
yep,
episodes, and put them together. But that website gives you like free public domain images, and I thought that'd be great.
yep. Nah, that's really cool. I
Mhm.
like it. I like it. It came together nice too.
Oh yeah. But welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comics Della Morte, aka Comics of Death. And for anyone out there that's new to our channel, because I see that slowly a couple of people scribe here and there, we are a show where we're, tired of the typical superheroes, you know, comics out there were like westerns, novels, and horror. And we love horror and we love talking about horror. So if we're not doing a comic review on a horror book, we're talking about
Hold up,
horror
Ronnie.
comics.
Hold up, Ronnie.
What's up?
We like horror. We love horror. We
Yeah,
consume horror, but we create horror too. You can't forget that.
exactly. Oh
We
yeah, I
create
wasn't
horror
gonna
too,
forget that.
man.
Hmm. But I am Ronnie Gunter, Crimson Owl Comics, and my co-host Jason Alexander, Frogbreaker Studios, Big Frog Energy.
You know it. Wakanda forever, baby.
Yeah,
Oh, hold up, Ronnie. Check this out. Look what I did. Finally. I finally got a link tree.
awesome, awesome.
Finally. It took me, I don't
I
know
have to.
why. It's like I've been dragging my feet about it, but like it makes so much sense, to have
It's one of
everything
those
like
things that
located in
you get
one
so
spot.
busy. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm still developing, and you probably are too. Or the websites.
Yep, just every day there's something like this is also part of creating comics, right? Like
Hmm.
there's
Yeah.
so much other things other than drawing panels on a page. Like
Hmm.
you
Or
because you got to
writing.
promote it,
Yeah,
you got
that.
to write it, you got to world build, like you got to do research. Like some days writing, some days you read more than you write when you're writing a project. Because
Oh yeah.
you gotta research, especially if like your stuff. Like, I mean, I guess that's you, I mean, a Vengeful Heart, hello,
Yeah.
it's like it's a period comic. So
Hmm.
I know that there's research that goes into that. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
like,
I mean, especially with like Haley's Comet and like
yeah,
trying to find a way to like even and with some of the areas that I have in the comic, some are going to be fiction, some are real places. So it's like trying to like bring that fiction and nonfiction together. So
yeah, for sure. Like,
mhm.
you know, Aaron always says, like, if I would be like, man, this is so much fun, Aaron be
Mhm.
like, nope, it's not fun. Like, he was very work about it. And I
Mhm.
totally get it. As much as I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
want to, and as much as I don't want to, like, it is work. But man, like, I find it fun. Like, I do
Mhm.
find it fun. But
It's
I will
therapeutic.
say, yeah, if you don't love it,
Mhm.
like, it will, like, it'll break you some days. Like I know like some of the panels that you've been pulling off, man, like shit. Like if you don't love it,
I put
man,
my
it's
music
tough.
on,
That's
my
it. You gotta
music that's
lock
like it
in.
it like no music with words, but just like
Yeah.
plain old, you know, classical music or some of those musics where it's like listen to this song
Yeah. Like
that's like
study sounds or like
yeah,
like
like a
megahertz.
6 hour
Like
song, yeah, with like
yeah.
rain and
Yeah.
like Native American flute or stuff like that. Very
Yeah.
relaxing, but helps me focus.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely. Yeah. That's
as my
all good
friend
shit.
puts there, A Vengeful Heart, episode 3, The Great Escape. My biggest story, well, it's one big story, but my biggest run episode
Yeah.
of 10 pages, 40 panels, getting into it
Yeah.
where, you have a lot of action, gore, and I'm just happy about it.
And I'll say this was easily, like, not just because it was the longest, but
Mhm.
this was my favorite chapter because, like, we got the, like, all the players are on the board now, and it's like
Mhm.
now you get to see, like, what is it, why is it, and so this was a good chapter.
Yeah.
But I think, like, if you haven't read this on Tapas yet, or even if you have, like, now is a good time to go back and read the whole
Mhm.
thing, because it
Yeah.
reads
Mhm.
it reads like a it reads like a full page comic now, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's right at that 20, 22, 24 page area
Mhm.
now. So it reads like a comic. It's such a good
I
story,
appreciate that.
Ronnie. Like, I'm
I
totally
appreciate that.
into it.
It's one of
Yeah.
those things like, the main character is the son, but it's an origin story. So first, you need to focus on his mother because he's
Yep.
still a child. So now going forward, where this is going to be like a 40-page comic, the first part, I want you to get involved with her. And now going to be transitioning where you're going to see a little bit about how her son and her are living in a different place. You'll find
Yep.
out more in episode 4 about where they're living, and you'll try to see a little bit about his story growing up as a kid, but then you're going to have like a flash forward to where he's an adult couple years later, and then it's going to go into more of a, you know towards the end of the comic. I'm not going to spoil it. I mean, if you
Of
read the
course, right.
read the description on the website there, you'll get an idea of what the stories how the story's going to end and transition to the second book. But I have a lot of good shockers,
I can't wait. You've delivered so far, and so
and
no, like this.
I do it the Marvel way. I literally was like, okay, I want to sit down, write a beginning, how I want to end the story, how I want the conflict, kind of like how it's like Stanley would go into the office and tell Jack Kirby, "Hey, I want an episode where the Green Goblin and Spider-Man are fighting on a bridge." You have that base storyline, and Jack
Yep.
Kirby would just like draw a bunch of panels that would make sense to the story, and that's how I did it.
Yep.
I wrote a little
Yep.
bit, but then I started drawing stuff that I know that would make sense that would add to that story.
Right. So you didn't go into it with, like, a full, like, fully, like, formatted script. You kind of knew the direction you wanted to go in, and kind of,
Yeah, and I had the
that's
idea.
awesome, man.
And pretty much I just after I draw a whole page out, I'm like, okay, this is what I want to write into those speech bubbles
Yep. That's awesome.
that would
Yep.
make sense to the story.
Yep.
Some people are like, "Oh, that's crazy. You don't have a full script." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Some people work that way. Some people work
It's
my way, and look how it turned out.
absolutely. And the thing is, like, it's your story. Like,
Mhm,
you're the art guy, you're the research guy, you're the writer. So
mhm.
as long as you know where you're going, and obviously you do, like,
Yeah,
this, you walked into it with enough of a roadmap. But it's kind of like, you're kind of like free mountain climbing. Like, you don't
yeah,
have all the cables, you don't have all
mhm,
the cables and stuff with them. But that's awesome.
yeah,
Like, I love it. Like, I've tried to do that a couple
mhm,
times, but I like writing from a script still,
yeah.
but, like, in time, like, you're seasoned. Like, you get it, man. So
Well, that's the
uh,
thing too, as being the artist and the writer,
yep.
you as a writer, okay, I'm writing this, but I know this is something that I know that I could draw.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna write something that's like, "Oh, man, that's really crazy." Some of the panels I drew and added the dialogue, I'm like, "Man, this perspective, especially the one with the woman looking in the distance at the,
Yep.
town,
Yep.
that is something that, I was like, "Okay, I gotta work on this," and the horses and all that stuff, but yeah. Really enjoyed it.
Yep, that's awesome. Yeah.
But you, my
I
friend, what do you got to promote after you? What were you gonna say?
You made me forget what I was gonna say, right?
but
You
I,
deflected. You
but I
deflected it.
thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, Ronnie, like y'all go. Let me put his link back up one more time. Like, go read this comic. It's worth your time, and it's a fun read altogether. But it existed
Mhm.
episode by episode, so you can enjoy each episode separately.
And I had to sit down and think about it too. Like, besides that, I really want to get back more to my Kofi account.
Yeah,
Probably do something with that, or maybe do a Patreon. Just like this, have other sources of income and stuff coming in like that.
yeah, nothing. Yeah, that's how creators eat. Like
Yeah.
that's it. So no,
Hmm.
I can't wait to see what you do, man.
Appreciate it.
I guess like check out my link tree, but like
Hmm.
I got like my Instagram. Check out my Instagram. I'm gonna
Yeah.
share the minis because I love looking at the minis every week.
I mean,
Um,
that's what you started with. I mean, of
yeah,
course.
that's yeah, it's a pretty exciting experience, man,
Hmm.
to be able to write these. Like I really think that they came out really, really awesome.
Yeah, it
So
helped you
like
hone your skills as a writer.
it it showed me I learned a lot about not only like writing for comics in a very created in a very unique and like professional way, as you can see on the
Hmm.
screen here. So but also here's what it's like when you don't do both,
Yeah.
and you learn how to work with artists or writers, what have you. But it's such a privilege to see your writing become this, like
Hmm.
to see like Aaron and I had a really good we had a really good pick and roll.
Yeah.
We kind of saw the same stuff in very different ways. And
Hmm.
Drifter, like I have so many. I love the horror that we created because I think Aaron's artwork like thrives in horror.
Oh
And
yeah.
this title has some horror aspects to it.
Hmm.
Ronnie, like this is like this became my favorite story after the second issue.
I could
Um
see why. I mean, with
it's
the
kung
samurai
fu
guy, the hand, and then the close
mysticism,
up of the
man.
face.
It's nuts.
Hmm.
And it looks so good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hey, give me 1 second.
Yep.
I'm gonna turn my camera off. But you got it, man. Just do your thing. I'll be right back.
All right, not a problem. So everyone, pretty much just talking about promoting our stuff because as Jason said, we are creators and not just people who love horror and love comics. So let me take care of this. Take care of that. But yeah, with the episode 63, uh sorry, really tired today. Urban legends. Last week we talked about legendary monsters like werewolves, Bigfoot, stuff like that. But urban legends, most of the time as a kid, you probably thought of, if you grew up around the time that me and Jason were, and some other people who watched the show, like drinking soda and eating pop rocks at the same time. But there's other urban legends that are related to monsters as well, like the boogeyman or Bloody Mary. So once Jason comes on, we'll pretty much talk about like all those different stuff because I have a list of some things. And what's cool is that there's one thing in particular that I like that's related to Missouri as well. And I forgot about that, but it'll be nice to kind of take that urban legend and find a way how I could fit it into my comic. There's a part of the story that that'll probably go really well with that part. But let's see. Do do do. Oh, and also too, next week we're gonna have a special guest, and well, I should say guest. It is a husband and wife. They are creators. They create comics. I believe the wife creates plushies as well, and some really cool plushies. And then I believe they are in the develop making a movie as well. So it'd just be cool to get them on the show next week and ask about, how is it working together as a team, one being the writer and one being the artist, and they're married. And then also to how trying to find time to write a comic and draw a comic, because I know myself it's a lot of work, but then they find the time to make movies, to make plushies as well. So it'll be really cool to get them on the show next week. I'm not going to say who they are. I want you to be like, you know, sh- surprised who it is, because if I'm not mistaken, some of the people here that watch their show, they follow them, so it'll be cool. So let's see. Let me find a topic that I was looking up. Do do do. Mm, let's see. All right, I got one. So one of the ones that I was talking about before with Missouri, it is well. There's other places too that kind of have like their own version of this, but it's more silly than it is, serious. So it's called it's an urban legend. It's called the Devil's Chair. And the Devil's Chair are haunted chairs of folklore frequently attached to a class of funeral or memorial sculpture common in the United States. So as you could pretty much think, let me see if I could bring it up. Do yeah. See. So yeah, pretty much here, like I said, with the sculpture, I don't know if anybody's ever seen things like this, but pretty much that's what it is, like a sculpture that you would see or a bench that you would see in a graveyard. And it pretty much goes into detail. Let me close the picture there. There. Stop sharing. But yeah, so pretty much I'm gonna tell the one that takes place in Missouri, and then I'll tell the others to show how like the one in Missouri is a little bit more serious than the other ones, because the other ones are kind of silly. But the Devil's Chair or the Balliard, yeah, billiard chair, I think I'm saying that right, is official name in Highland Park Cemetery of Kirksville, Missouri. It was first placed in the cemetery by David Billiard and his friend Charles when David's wife Anna died in 1911. It has been involved in numerous legends of a type of wide replica across the US, like I was saying, especially in the rural and small town communities, and which makes sense because you don't see a lot of that stuff probably in big cities. A lot of even with horror movies, yeah, especially with small country towns, they have like crazy folklores, in big cities, they really don't have them as much. I mean, they do have some folklores, but let's face it, most of the times you hear crazy stuff usually happens in a small country town. It's like, oh, if you go down that tunnel or go down that road, it leads to you just such and such, where this person was found dead, or this happened to that person. But going on to more of what the urban legend is, it was involved in numerous legends. And let's see, some versions say that something dreadful will happen to the person, so bad as to be seated in it at midnight or a particular evening, such as Halloween. A hand will emerge from the grave and uh, drag the one down to the underworld. Or other versions suggest that the person will be rewarded. The chair itself was sculptured by, his friend that helped him put the thing there. But after David died, it was placed as a memorial for him and Anna. So 1 year later, l- uh, after they placed the thing, 1 year later, he literally died on the exact date after he buried his wife and put the chair there. And they said it is basically their grave marker to indicate where they're buried. Crazy stuff, because it's like the last thing you want to think about is like you're sitting on something that is probably like, I don't know if their tombstone is like right next to it, or that is their tombstone, because you shouldn't walk on graves, because even if you're not like religious, it's still disrespectful. But I always found interesting stuff like this, because I don't know, I mean, I'm not going to lie, when you're a teenager and you're like, oh, let's go to the graveyard, it might be haunted, and then you hear crazy stuff and you just go to your car. But with the devil chair, there's always some type of like artifact that's pretty much like related to something crazy going on in a horror movie. Like if you like, what is it? Trying to think. Christine, you know, Stephen King movie about the car. So, and what I love about it is because with this sculpture, even what I showed you with the chair, it looks eerie, because it's like you have this like cinder block chair in the middle of graveyard, and you would think it'll be there to sit on, but no, it's a grave marker. So let's see. But like I said, I was going to talk about some other stuff that's less serious. But since I'm now here living in Florida, they have one in Florida that's a great bench in a cemetery. But the legend there is, according to one legend, an unopened can of beer left on the chair will be empty by morning, or in some accounts, the can is open, and in others, the beer is simply gone. With that, you know, that's more of a like a funny thing to think about, like like a ghost. It's like literally open up beer and drinking it. But with the Missouri thing, I find that you know more spooky to think about. If you might be a rewarded, or you might be dragged to the underworld, because as a horror writer, you live for this stuff. You really try to find ways to be like, oh wow, that's great folklore. Let me try to make a movie out of it. Let me try to make a book out of it, because there's so much like dialogue there, or not dialogue, story already there. You're just adding on top of it to add more to it, so you don't have to do as much work, but trying to find a way to make it your own as well. So let's see. Do. Yeah, I could talk about Bloody Mary. You know, let at this point would be considered legendary. Hey, what's up? Just talking about, urban legends. waiting for Jason to pop back in, and I love that image. Do do do. And if you have Nefarious, if you have an urban legend that you know as a kid, give it a shout out, and we'll talk about it if we know what it is. But yeah, with Bloody Mary, as a as horror creators, hey, what's up, Sideburns? But yeah, as horror creators, we love horror movies, and at this point, who hasn't seen a Candyman movie? But before Candyman, you had Bloody Mary. Yeah, Jersey Devil. We were actually talking about Jersey Devil in the last episode because I wanted to talk about something that'd be some similar. Like we were talking about legendary monsters, but with urban legends. Before you guys came on, I was talking about the Devil Chair, which is a statue-like chair that you would see in a graveyard. So it'll be interesting just to talk about, legendary creatures or like drinking. You guys probably remember the whole thing. Oh, don't drink soda and eat pop rocks at the same time. It'll put holes in your stomach or crazy stuff like that. But yeah, with Bloody Mary, I mean, I remember as a kid in the mirror saying Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. But it's really funny because you, as if a true horror creator, like I said, you really live on this stuff, and you pretty much see. I don't know. I've seen like 2 Bloody Mary movies in my life, but there's so many of them out there. Let's see. Do, do. But yeah, I'll go more into if anyone for whatever reason doesn't know what Bloody Mary is, I'll give more of an example. Bloody Mary is a folklore legend consisting of a ghost or a spirit conjured to reveal the future. She's said to appear in a mirror when her name is called multiple times. Bloody Mary apparition may bring something nice or terrible about your life, depending on historic iterations of the legend. Bloody Mary appears are mostly witnessed in group games, which you know I can't remember really getting in front of a mirror and doing it by myself. I remember as a kid, having a sleepover and doing it with a bunch of group of friends, and then having someone hide in the shower just to pop out and scare people. Thought that was pretty fun back then. Do. Let me see where Jason's at. I know he had a couple stories. All right. Think he's coming back soon. Mm, don't want to give them all away. Oh, well, there's one. Could talk about Annabelle, even though, at this point it's a movie and it's a legendary, but Annabelle originally wasn't like this doll. But if you read up on it, Annabelle was actually a Raggedy Ann. And why I find the Conjuring movies so interesting, it's because they're kind of based on reality. Real people like the husband and the wife. That's based off of a real couple who literally goes around to different places who like tries to communicate with ghosts and cast them all out. So it was interesting that after all these years, especially with the 80s, with all these different horror movies, that they finally decide to make a story off of these real people now with the times, but the technology with the CGI. But you know, as if you watch the show, with the CGI. I'm not a big fan of horror CGI all the time. I like to see the fake blood, the animatronics, just like John Carpenter's The Thing. Great movie. Do-do. Mhm. Let's see. Message me now. But yeah. But what you were saying, nefarious Jersey Devil, we were talking about that and how that just relates to back to what I was saying earlier. Some of these urban legends you can make into a comic. Like I actually remember reading some of the Jersey Devil comics. Really nice stuff. Do oh well, that's a good one here. Jack the Ripper. You know, yes, there's been a lot of cases out there to show like Jack the Ripper is a real person, but for a while it was more of an urban legend, like unidentified killer, and some people were like, well, it was a person who was a surgeon because the way they cut the person, they cut them at the right angle to make them bleed. But sometimes people say no, it's more of a butcher, but just really awesome stuff. Bigfoot, well, yeah, of course, Bigfoot, but that's more of a legendary creature that we talked about with the whole Chupacabra and all those creatures there. But let me see. There was one that I really wanted to talk about. It's a shame that Jason's not on right now. Let's see. Mm. Ah, yeah, that one right there. Oh yeah, the Mothman was good. We talked about that last week with Legendary Monsters. If you remember Nefarious, if you know, I can't remember, but where they actually had kind of a videotape showing how like the Mothman flew away from a bridge, and then after he flew away, the bridge was destroyed. I don't know if that was like a fan made thing, or they said that's like a real event that happened. I can't remember where that bridge was though. But where is it? Ah, yeah, the Black Eyed Children. This isn't really of a too old. It's pretty much like this of Rise in the 90s, but ever since then, it's become a really popular like urban legend for paranormal creatures. And the Black Eyed Children or Black Eyed Kids are urban legend of supposed paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16 with pale skin, black eyes, who are reportedly seen hitchhiking or panhandling in accounted residential homes. And the tales of the black eyed children have appeared in pop culture since the late 1990s. Which, if you go on now, it's like I can't remember what YouTube channel it was, but the guy who lived in a small, like pretty much almost out into the country, he recorded a frequency that he couldn't hear at first, but then he listened well to what he recorded and he found that frequency and then he amplified it. And like I said, who knows if he used his own kids or not, but he had a video camera showing like outside how he played this frequency like loud, but not too loud to disturb his neighbors, I guess. But all of a sudden, no one was at the door. Then there was just a blackout, probably like maybe a transition to indicate that a kid appeared there and it's probably his kid, but all of a sudden a kid appeared there. But then there was a time in the what he also videotaped that he had his tire popped, and then after he fixed his tire, he caught a black eyed kid looking at him in the woods. But that's just goes back to the whole urban legend that when demons take forms, or jinns, which jinns are shape-shifting demons. I wonder at one point in history where they're like, okay, even with horror movies, okay, instead of having it where you're a grown male or a grown female being a ghost, but then now it's like in culture you always see the spirits, especially the evil spirits, the demons, always take the form of a child. Because let's face it, especially a as an adult, if I see a strange woman or a strange man in the middle of nowhere, I'm not gonna really pull over unless they look like they need help. But they're if they look crazy or stuff like that, you're not gonna pull over. But automatically, as a adult, you're gonna think, oh, okay, there's a kid, I need to pull over and help them. So maybe that transition to that point to realize that children are innocent and you don't have to be afraid of them. So that's the only thing I could think of. Let's see. Do do do. Do do. Let me see. But while I'm waiting for Jason, do you guys have any urban legends that particular happen around like the state that you live, or I know Sideburns, you don't live in America, if I'm not mistaken. So is there like a urban legend that goes on where you live? Like even it doesn't have to involve like a legendary monster like Mothman or you know Bloody Mary, but like with a certain place, like you don't go there. Like almost in Japan, you got the suicide woods where people as don't have to go into detail, but yeah. Do. Oh, this one is a good urban legend. Let's see, where was it? Uh, oh man, I just missed it. Oh yeah, this urban legend. I mean, I can't remember because I had the original cassette tape, but I know people like my mom and other people who would have seen the original movie, the whole, urban legend about the Wizard of Oz with the hanging munchkin in the back. Like if you look at the original movies back then, not the remastered ones now, but in the far back after the witch first has her encounter with Dorothy, you could see a mon- we you could see a munchkin hanging himself. Me personally, I can't remember if I ever seen something similar to that, but I always thought that was interesting. But I know how from even rumors with the movie that a lot of the actors there who played as the Munchkins were like being mistreated. Drop bears. But but with that right there, what exactly is that? Like, is that like a creature or something? Drop bears. Oh yeah, here's another good one. I don't know if you ever seen the movies. I think there was only one. I'm not sure, but the movie uh Urban Legends, where you had a killer killing different people based off of urban legends. But I remember one urban legend, and that was the killer in the backseat. You know, if anybody never heard of that story, it's pretty much common as what you would think it would be. A common car crime urban legend, well known mostly in the United States and the United Kingdom. Legend involves a woman who is driving and is being followed by a strange car or truck. The mysterious pursuer flashes his high beams, tailgates her, and sometimes even rams her vehicle. When she finally makes it home, she realized that the driver was trying to warn her that there was a man, a murderer, rapist, mental patient, hiding in her backyard. Each time the man sat up to attack her, the driver behind had used his high beams to scare the killer, after which he ducked down. Oh, Cyber Escape, based on, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The, like, with the whole, well, you could even say with like some of these legendary monsters, like the mythical like dragons, you know, that's mythical, but you got so many different, like you have the European and the Eastern version of dragons, but like how we were talking about last week with legendary monsters, you Native Americans, different people all around the world had talked about Bigfoot, and they have their own story of Bigfoot. So it was just interesting there to really like really want to sit down with some of these cultures and ask, you know, how you found out the story about Bigfoot, because everybody has their own story. But let's see. Hmm. Sorry about the mishaps. These things do happen, especially when you're live. I know my family right now, they're dealing with snow where they got like 12, I think 10 inches of snow right now. So sometimes you have technical problems. But let's see. Do do. I'm just gonna read some ones that are like very interesting. This one, uh, aerial water bomber picking up a scuba diver is an urban legend about a water bomber or a helicopter with a dangling water bucket scooping up a scuba diver and dumping them on a wildfire site. the legend was used as a plot device in the film Barney's Vision, which, I don't know if that would ever happen. I mean, that could happen because those tubes that literally suck a lot of water out of like rivers or ocean and dump all that water. It is a lot of water, but I've never really heard of stories of like them sucking up like sharks or even people and then dropping in a wildfire. But I can imagine how scary that would be. But also, too, it would probably kill the scuba diver instantly because depending on how far they're down into the water, how you're supposed to ascend and everything slowly. But that's an interesting urban legend. Do I don't know if you would call this an urban legend here, but it was interesting because if I don't know if it happened around the rest of the world, but I remember it was really big in America at the time, where you had the 2016 clown sightings were a urban legend that rose popular during 2016 of an individual or group dressed up as clowns who stalk, harass, or otherwise scare people. I don't know if you would call that urban legend because I remember reading articles and I remember people that I knew in Missouri who would actually spot this stuff, spot those in real life. So I don't know. It's more of a true thing. I just wonder what made people all of a sudden decide to do it. Oh yeah, this one's really good. Uh, playing a CD back. I mean, playing a vinyl cassette backward or vinyl record backwards, and then the song actually has like the chant to a like almost like a ritual trying to bring about the devil. If you remember the movie The Gate, that's pretty much what it was. You play this song backwards, and it opens up a portal to hell, which is called the Gate, and had these demons and stuff like that. Really interesting movie. Do I'll be right back. Well, actually, no, I'm good. Do, do. Hmm. I am back, people. Sorry about the mishap with this episode. Like I said, when you go live, you don't know whenever what's ever gonna happen. But let's see. This one is interesting. I like this urban legend. The Banished Man is our urban legend to describe a logger who died in a grisly sawmill accident, attacks cars, and terrorizes teenagers. To me, that's a typical like 80s horror movie that would probably go direct to, video, never be in the movie theaters, but probably gain a cult following there. And then we have the typical country urban legend based off a witch. And I say that because I've lived in the country farm area life, really peaceful, beautiful stars at night, but again, some urban legends will always appear in like small country towns and not too much big cities, at least what I've experienced. But there's a story called the Bell Witch, which is a folklore legend from 1817 to 1821, where his family and a local area came under attack by a mostly invisible entity that was able to speak, affect the physical environment, and shapeshift. And it was located in Robertson County, Tennessee. Hmm. Um, the Highgate Vampire was a folklore legend that described a media sensation surrounding reports of supported supernatural activity at Highgate Cemetery in London. Yeah, I can't really remember too much about a vampire story that would be a folklore in Missouri, but I would think that everyone has like their own type of vampire story in their different countries or states. Like I said, I can't think of one from Missouri. I just knew much about the devil chair and stuff like that. All right. Sadly, I'm gonna have to end it here because I gotta get going. But sorry, audience, for the technical difficulties. Like I said, I know right now the northern area is dealing with a lot of snow and bad weather up there. So, that's probably what's going on. I know a lot of my family in Missouri right now, they're definitely dealing with a lot of heavy snow and bad weather. And I know Jason in Maine, I could only imagine what he's going through. But, anyone watching the show, I hope you enjoy it. Sorry about, just the rambling, but I appreciate everyone who comes by. Nefarious Sideburns, thank you for stopping by. Sorry it wasn't a little bit more entertaining. Anyone rewatching the episode, if you guys have any urban legends that you know of, just leave them in the comments and I'll look them up and read them because, like I said, as a horror writer and a creator, sometimes you gain inspiration by just reading stories that have been told, but you find your own way to make it. Like how they say, there's nothing new under the sun. There's so many stories out there where there's always the hero trying to save the damsel in distress, but there's many ways that you could write it. Same thing with urban legend. You could have a story that's already there, but you could build more story on the backstory or why this is a thing in the first place. So check out A Vengeful Heart, my ongoing horror comic series. Check out what Jason's going on. And next week, like I said, we're going to have special guests, a husband and wife. They write horror comics. They do YouTube. They make movies. They do plushies, all that awesome stuff. So see y'all next week. Peace.